Hello everyone. Photography is a great art, and if you want to learn photography, it is very important to go through a good training process or a learning process where you can find everything that you need for your photography. In this series of videos, I'll go through all the components and basics of what is needed to get started with your photography. Here is the first tutorial, where to start. So let's dive into it. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button or hit the bell icon so that you are notified when my next video comes out. Down below is the link to my blog where I have already written this in a form of article or a blog. So you can just go there and refer to it so that you don't have to take notes today, and either you can come back to this video later or come back to that blog again and again and revisit it. So let's dive into the first video, where to start our photography. Also at the end, I'll have a bonus tip for you, so stay tuned and you'll get a bonus tip apart from all the recommendations that I have on where to start photography. The first most important thing that you need for your photography is your camera. Obviously without a camera you can't shoot pictures. But for the first time you don't have to go really expensive. You can buy a simple camera that is not very expensive and still solves your purpose. Cameras can be mainly divided into three different categories: automatic, semi-automatic and DSLR cameras. If you are trying to pursue photography as your hobby, or even trying to be an amateur photographer and consider photography as your profession in future, I would definitely at least recommend you to buy a semi-automatic camera, start from there and then eventually move towards a DSLR camera. Even with a DSLR camera, you don't have to go really expensive. Something like Nikon 5000 series or Nikon 3000 series can be a good camera to start with. Camera manufacturers like Nikon, Canon, Sony or Olympus or any other manufacturer, a good manufacturer, offers a good range of semi-automatic cameras as well. With the semi-automatic cameras, you are limited in terms of how much flexibility do you have in terms of changing lenses and stuff like that. But these are not very bulky cameras, these are not very expensive and are good to start with. Some of the key things that you're looking for in your camera, whether a semi-automatic or a DSLR, is you need capabilities to shoot your pictures in different modes like manual mode, aperture mode, priority mode. These are the modes where you are setting up the camera yourself and not everything is set automatically through your camera. You want to stay away from automatic modes as much as possible to be a better photographer. So look for those modes. That is a key factor while selecting the camera. If you are going for a DSLR camera, I would definitely recommend at least a kit lens for right now. A kit lens is a typical 18mm to 55mm lens. Typically if you buy a DSLR camera, most of the times this lens comes with it, but please check while buying, because sometimes it can be just the camera body that you are buying and not the lens, so just be careful about that. But don't forget that kit lens is good enough for you to right now get started, especially when you are still trying to find your niche. Later, once you know which direction you want to proceed in future, then you can buy some specific lenses, which we will be going through in one of the tutorials later. The second important thing that I would recommend is a good tripod. It has to be a good tripod. That doesn't mean it has to be a very expensive one. The first tripod I bought was like a $50 tripod, and I still use it sometimes just because of its lightweight and it's still sturdy. Tripod, I feel, is a very important factor and can make a big difference in your photography. Sometimes just having that tripod gives you enough stability and sharpness to your picture and can make a big difference sometimes. Also, tripods are important when you are trying to do family shoots, because you want to be in the picture, and if you are taking the picture, then obviously you cannot be in the shot. So sometimes having that tripod in your camera bag definitely helps. The third key factor, I think, is a flash. Now, most of the cameras come with an inbuilt flash. That means you don't have to buy a secondary flash or an external flash, but sometimes having that external flash can be very helpful. I use it all the time for my family pictures or any events I'm doing. Definitely I use a Nikon camera and a Nikon flash, and it definitely helps me a lot and takes my picture to a different level. Now initially when you're starting, if you're not sure that you want a flash, don't buy it for right now. But you still have your camera flash which you can use all the time. All you have to do is, I would at least recommend to diffuse the light from that camera flash. And then the way you can do it is just buy a simple diffuser that fits on your camera and basically diffuses the light. In that way, at least the flash that you're using is not too harsh and the light coming out is very soft. That definitely will make a big difference and look your pictures better. So these are some of the main equipments that you need. But at the same time, there are a few more points that you want to consider when you're starting your photography. The fourth point that we are covering is finding your niche. Sometimes when you're starting your photography, you're not sure about your niche. All you want to do is take your camera and enjoy, take pictures and be out there. If you're not sure about your niche at this point, that is okay. Don't worry about it. Just grab your camera and keep taking pictures. Take every opportunity that you get, and eventually I feel you will find your niche, maybe in 6 months, maybe in a year. The fifth point, I think, which is very important, is to be open-minded. I feel the best way of learning any art is to be open-minded and be ready to learn from others. I think I have learned more photography from just talking to people rather than from reading any articles or finding videos that I can watch. At the end, it's all about community. It's all about taking and giving to the community. So be open-minded and be open to learning the process of photography all the time. The sixth tip that I have is take pictures. That is the most important part, I feel, because I see a lot of people or a lot of students who just buy their camera, or maybe they're just reading and evaluating and re-evaluating whether they can be a good photographer or not. My recommendation is just take your camera and start taking pictures. Without taking pictures, you won't be able to find yourself and find your niche. So don't think about what others will think, don't think about anything else. Just go out and take pictures. Let the people stare at you, it doesn't really matter. The seventh tip that is very important too is carry your camera everywhere. Without your camera, you won't be taking pictures. It's easy to carry your camera, just put it in your bag or put it in your car and just carry it with you. It doesn't really matter. At least whenever you have your opportunities, you have your camera with you so that you're not missing anything. So these are some of the tips that I have. Let me know what you think about these. Also, at the same time, if you have tips that I have missed, you think, or you think there are better things for a photographer to know when he's starting, please don't forget to comment and add that. One bonus tip that I have for everyone is, while selecting your camera, try to buy a camera which has a RAW format in it. We will go through a different tutorial, a separate video and a blog, where we will discuss what is the difference between a RAW picture and a JPEG picture or an image. But it is very important to have that capability to shoot RAW. It gives you much more flexibility in terms of when you are editing the picture later, and that definitely is a huge benefit. So I would recommend that if your camera can have that capabilities while you're buying it, go for that option. So that was my first video. Let me know how I did. Don't forget to comment and tell me if there is anything that you think is also important for photography. Obviously this was just the first video. This is a series of 16 to 17 videos at least. So each and every component, including the different modes of cameras and all the settings, we will be going into details in next coming videos. Thanks for watching the video and see you next time.